I'm Will Anderson. Welcome to Gruen. We start with bad news. Ads are asking me questions again.
All right, question time. What are you doing?
I'm hosting a TV show about ads.
What do you want to do when you grow up?
Yeah, finally stop talking about ads. They keep bugging me with questions.
What's the essence of herbal essences?
Oh, I know this one. Herbs.
What are you after?
Herbs. Guess what kind?
Massive pots, unusual pots.
That's right, advertisement.
Do you want to add a little magic to your flooring and window furnishings?
I do. Dark magic. That's why I sacrificed the goat.
Getting bad energy from your home loan?
I am, Julia. There's a dead goat in the house.
Time for a wall makeover?
Yep, they're covered in goat blood.
Are you suffering from frequent bouts of bet limititis?
Actually, that was the spell I cast. Bet limititis.
Blocked nose?
Yes, I'm still recovering from the logies. Hey, I wasn't even there. I was just trying to make it through the broadcast.
So, what is it you see here?
This one's easy. A set of stairs.
A set of stairs? Not really.
Yes, really. Definitely a set of stairs. What do you think I see?
You see a way up.
Yeah. They're stairs. That's how stairs work. Give me another go.
So, what is it you see here?
Trick question. I want to say garage, but it's stairs, isn't it? No, hang on, wait. It's a way up. Is that right?
I don't think so.
Fine, what is it?
This is the birthplace of your empire.
Oh, my empire? Actually, it's my indoor herb garden. And it'll get you way higher than any set of stairs. All right, last question.
Wondering when you can put your pants back on?
How did you know I wasn't wearing pants? Can you see under here?
Got anything bigger?
No more questions. Time to introduce our panel. Todd Sampson, Priya Patel, Christina Aventi and Dee Madigan. Let's talk about unmentionables. For a long time, the advertising briefs for how to advertise briefs had a standard playbook. Undies ads used to be packed to the rafters with celebrity endorsements and full of marketing bull. These days, we're changing our undies. Women's underwear ads celebrate everybody, and now men's brands are also big and bold. Ooh, I like the Wiggles after dark. I can see they're hot potatoes. And Tackle's ads still rely on a scantily clad model.
It takes a lot to contain a big footy fan like me. Tackle undies, available for the big boys.
Oh, I know. What sort of dick would do a shoey on national TV? He's drinking an Australiano. Christina, will blokes buy body positivity?
Yeah, this is a really interesting question. There's definitely a need for it. Some of the stats are as high as 30 to 40% of men are experiencing some form of anxiety, be that around their height or their weight. They can't really talk about it because there's a stigma attached to it. But, you know, this breed of body positivity is very different to the one perhaps that we've experienced on a few different fronts. On one hand, there's a big sort of shift in terms of tone. So when it came to, I guess, females and body positivity, you would celebrate that voluptuous form. It was done with confidence. It was done, like, seriously. In this case, it's really piss-takey. It's still celebratory, but it's kind of ironic and self-effacing. And I think the thing about humour is that it distances you from it. And I think that, you know, you've got to question whether that really is body positivity. Maybe that's how heterosexual men want it delivered to them. So that's one part. The other thing is when it comes down to target, the fact is women buy the pants in a relationship. And men spend something like 16 times less than women on underwear. What you'll find is that men only buy their undies for about 12 years of their life. It's deferred. to their mothers, then their girlfriends, and then their wives. In fact, that men tend to stick to the undies that their mum put themselves in. I'm not sure if you can attest to that.
No, I'm not sticking to my mum's undies, no.
Okay, so there's a fact. Well, for a lot of men, they haven't moved on. And the other thing is the plus of being plus size is that you get a sense of humour, and we know from a lot of studies that the number one thing women find attractive is a sense of humour. And so the thing about being larger is that you're not precluded from being sexually attractive, and that's not necessarily the narrative that you've had with women. So much so that in Australia we celebrate ordinary rigs. Budgie Smuggler has this ordinary rig competition where, you know, averageness is celebrated. Like, you know, you don't have to give a shit, but you can still score, and there's pride in that. And so I think that there's a version of body positivity that already exists. So the correction there is very different to, say, what we've experienced with females. I know that might be a bit polarising, and what a long answer.
But I agree.
That's all we have time for tonight. It's been great to have you on.
Sorry, guys.
I also love, by the way, when they always say, oh, the number one thing women find attractive is a sense of humour. I guarantee you, if I was standing next to Ryan Gosling in a room, they'd be like, funny enough.
But I think Christine is right, is that men have been allowed on TV to not be perfect. It's actually only in the last couple of years that we've seen sort of the hot rig bodies. You look at Tom Cruise, he's 5 foot nothing. Men have been allowed to look their age, they've been allowed to look like they eat food, so they haven't required as big a correction as women when it comes to body positivity.
But I was reading a thing that, 17% of male Aussie kids and teens are actually dissatisfied with their bodies. So it's actually starting from a really young age, this sense of body dysmorphia that leads to all of those kind of eating diseases that we talk about a lot with women. The same can happen for guys. And so I think this type of work's important because it actually does normalise bodies. And you're right, Christina, it's sort of celebratory, and I think there's a positivity of just celebrating different bodies. And brands, the more they do this, the more normal bodies become. It becomes how we see other people in culture, and it stops people kind of internalising, I suppose, some of the negativity.
It is interesting how normal has become so abnormal that we applaud it when we see it in advertising. I spent 6 years working in the underwear during my career, working on brands like this, and we did a lot of research. And the difference between male and female, I thought was quite interesting. So that underwear advertising can make people feel vulnerable or can make people feel good, and both are profitable. And the difference between men and women is when men are put sexy images up in advertising, or particularly in underwear, it triggers insecurity, and that insecurity gets them to do nothing. When a woman is given sexy imagery wrapped around underwear, it triggers insecurity, and that insecurity causes them to buy. And so that was the major difference. And you can see that the majority of men advertising post Calvin Klein's was always functional and practical. It was always about comfort. And only now that correction is coming back to women, but it had been corrected a long time ago for men.
Men's undies ads are always bulging with gross visual metaphors.
Living inside the Kanga pouch is heaven for us.
Men.
The rice balls and the nori must be separate.
Whoa, buddy, now this is nice.
Yep, whoever wrote those should be sacked. Men's advertising is full of crude jokes. D, will guys ever get sick of advertisers dicking around?
No one gets sick of dick jokes. Like, they're always funny. So there's two target markets for men's underwear. Men only ever buy underwear when they think they're about to get laid, yeah? So they want to look good. But the main target is women. And women know that if they ever want to have kids with this bloke, you've got to look after their sperm. And that's why all these ads talk about them not being too tight, about keeping it cool. Your testes are outside your body because sperm needs to be at a lower body temperature than the rest of your body. It is true, and women know this stuff. Yeah. So if a woman is buying you these undies, it's because at some point she wants your babies.
Yeah. You've just got to serve it slightly chilled.
But it's a repositioning, isn't it? Because instead of talking about comfort, it reminds me of that, we used to say that, Listerine didn't create a mouthwash, it created halitosis. And it kind of feels like this for men's underwear advertising, that we've made this sort of temperature adjusting need for our balls so that we could have children, or balls discomfort or whatever that. I don't know about you, Will. I
don't know.
But are your balls always uncomfortable?
No, mine are detachable.
It's a made-up need, or that only marketing can.
It's not. It's like it's a legit thing.
No, I know that the balls are on the outside. I got that.
But for your sperm,
but you don't need special underwear for your balls.
You need underwear that's not too tight and doesn't let your sperm get too hot.
I know, but that could be any pair of underwear.
Welcome to Todd Sampson's Redesign Your Genitals.
Independent of Dee's education there, I mean, I laugh out loud at some of those sort of analogies and metaphors, like particularly that Bonds one with the 2 rice balls. And as much as I'm not going to, you know, tuck into my nori roll like I once did, I absolutely appreciate that stupid, smart humour. That's right up my alley, I've got to say. In that case, I feel like with sushi, like they did a great job of something that feels kind of original and contemporary, you know, and it's got inherent comedy value. Like it's a fresh spin on an old trope. I like the fact that they've mixed up their metaphors and their protein in terms of delivering it.
I actually thought that the humour and the slight sort of puerile nature of it was designed for blokes, if I'm honest. Like, I thought this was work that was actually targeting guys and trying to talk guy language and try and make it a bit more playful and funny for them. And, like, there's a lot of evidence that actually guys buy more online now than women do. So if you can get that click on a piece of content that is kind of engaging and interesting, you're likely to convert that purchase. And then guys are actually more brand loyal as well. So once you've got them buying the special nutsack pants, they're just going to keep buying them.
Once you got them by the balls.
Yeah, okay. That would have been smart. That would have been good. That would have been smart. But yeah, they just keep coming back for more. So.
It's just made me feel very, very careful about what I grab off a plate at sushi train. In an empowered world, one bra brand, Burley, is also asking questions.
Can a bra get you the top job?
Oh, great question. Yes?
No.
So I've been wearing it for nothing. Brands aren't just embracing normal bodies, but normal bodily functions.
What's a period, you say? Have you got all day? Cramps, gas, boobs, sits, discomfort in your lady bits. Keeps you fierce, keeps you tough. This here is hot stuff. Cheer through the bleed. Cheer through the bleed.
Give me a P. Give me an E. Give me an answer for this. Christina, have we entered a new period?
Oh my God, I really like Bonds advertising normally, but I don't like that cheer through the bleed at all. This is everything my period is not. It invalidates how I feel. I mean, basically, in my first few days of my periods, I'm in low power mode. Literally every setting of my humanity is dimmed. The last thing I want to do is, you know, scissor kick and jazz hand my way through my period. And what up with cheerleading? It's retro, it's the wrong kind of retro. I mean, even the NRL have left that behind, so that is saying something. I think we've actually gone backwards with some of that. Having said that, there are some positives. So they do talk about the bleed, and normalising the bleed is a good thing. There's a lot of barriers when it comes to wearing these sort of period-proof wear stuff. People worry that it'll feel nappy-like. There's issues around comfort and leakage. It's a whole new ritual as well, in that you've got to rinse it before you throw it in the wash. We're very used to having a very disconnected relationship from our periods, in all honesty. We wrap up those tampons and those pads so that you don't see any scary of blood. And even when someone opens up that bin, God forbid that they would see even a smidge of blood. So I do think that they're starting the process of normalising the bleed, getting it out there, which I think is important. But particularly that execution, which apparently was written mainly by men, sorry, it's just not the right play. Less cheerleading, thanks.
It feels like the kind of execution we did for pads and tampons 20 years ago. And it's a pity because actually as a category, period undies are amazing. And if you haven't used them, do. Because they really do normalise your period. But I'm glad they weren't around when I was doing tampon ads. And when I was the only female in a creative department, you got that tampon ad and it had to be a chick in a white bikini on a beach. And I used to get the globe and I used to spin the globe and I would pick a beach somewhere in the world and I would go to that shoot. Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean...
No, I think there's been a huge shift in the way we talk about these things. You know, we're actually talking about in real language that people understand. It's not flow and pad size, which isn't how women talk about these things. And we sort of switched from the more rational kind of benefits to the more emotional stuff. And I think certainly over the last 5 years, brands like Libresse in Europe have... Their whole campaign was blood normal. You know, make seeing blood on television normal because it happens to 50% of the population once a month. Most of us like clockwork. It isn't something that you can actually just shy away from, and I think it's something to embrace. And it's great to see new product development and innovation in this category. Like, period pants is like the first new thing in like 20 years.
Once upon a time, Aussie undies were sold with an echidna. Now brands are using a honey badger.
It's a bugger when you get the big wet in the back part of your top end. The rough track, up and back, down, round the hoop, blow a gasket, chuck a U-banger and you're back to where you started.
I think the undies are cutting off the circulation to his brain. Tradie trades on this tagline.
The Aussiest undies ever.
Aussiest undies ever. So Aussie, the tag says, made in China. Brand Booty has opted for a different kind of celebrity endorsement.
Humans. What unusual animals we are. Off we search for new worlds, with so much still to do on the one we leave behind. It's a big job making our world a better place, but getting started, well, that's as easy as changing your underwear. Booty, official underwear of the entire planet.
Changing the world is as easy as changing your underwear. Not true. My underwear only has one arsehole. Priya, will we really go 8 for Jane Goodall's undies?
Yeah, I've got to say I am struggling with this one executionally. I think it's the sort of disconnect between having this fully clothed, earnest eco-warrior and then she's sort of surrounded by mute, semi-naked people in a forest. It just feels quite creepy, like you don't really know what's going on. You're like, she's going to be attacked or something.
Yeah, there is a touch of, has she shaved down the gorillas?
Yeah.
And dressed them in underpants? Is that what's going on?
Or has everyone evolved?
Yeah.
And I can see how strategically they got there, right? So there's this amazing B Corp product. You've got a millennial audience who want to buy more sustainably and are prepared to pay more. And you've got Jane Goodall. She's like an icon of environmentalism. But just when you put them all together, it just doesn't have any feel-good or any appeal, you know? It just leaves you feeling a bit cold and possibly a bit confused.
I think it was clever of them to get her, but not so clever of her to do it. The ad itself. I mean, I think the reason you feel that disconnect is because she's green screened, right?
Yes.
So she's in London, and the ad's made in Australia. And I wonder how she would have felt if she would have been in the jungle with everyone in their underwear. Again, this is just a nicer form of greenwashing when it comes to underwear advertising.
But they don't say anything about why the undies are saving the planet.
Yeah.
I think that's a really important thing. And also they're really ugly. Like, I want to save the planet, but I also want to look hot. And I think that's missing from these ads.
I mean...
Well, you're going to feel hot, so you might as well look hot.
It would be more impressive if Jane got her kit off right there and she was wearing the...
100%! Yes. Well, apparently the material she's wearing is the underwear material, but she's just fully clothed.
The other part about this that I think is a bit jarring is that it's a really whopping claim. You know, they say it's the official underwear of the entire planet. I mean, the planet's pretty bloody big, so to say the entirety of the planet, you're like, whoa. And then what makes it official? Is it the B Corp status? I mean, when you're talking about making it official, I want Mother Nature herself endorsing this bloody product, which I guess Jane Goodall is. But push it a little bit further, right? Like, like, I want, you know, Bubbles the chimp hugging her or something in the forest to know that, you know, this is going to really hit home. I guess it does make me ask more question than answers, per Dee's point. And in some ways that's a good thing because you do want to go, I did, you know, I wouldn't mind searching it, and apparently search did go up after that. So the bold claim must be doing something.
The only thing I'd say is consumers are looking for brands to do the heavy lifting and the work for them. So they have done the heavy lifting with this product. It is B Corp certified, it's made of bamboo, and all you have to do as a punter to help be part of saving the world is switch your undies. So they are making it as easy as possible for consumers to make good choices.
Because they're assuming the consumer knows all those things.
Yeah.
I didn't know all those things.
I would agree. I think that undies aren't the first thing I think about when I think about an environmental hazard, particularly when as it relates to fast fashion. Sorry, I just sort of thought about methane and other things that happen in your undies and stuff, and I was like, oh, well, but no, it's not the undies, it's me. Because it is a fabric, you think fast fashion, it's like a number 3 CO2 emitter, right? Like, I'm not naturally... The one thing about undies is we don't change them enough. If anything, that's a slow fashion, we don't have that flippant relationship that we have with fast fashion. So there's a bit of a disconnect there without having the proof as to why they're doing good. So that, I think, is the biggest gap.
That's why they chose Jane, right? So you go, let's bring in someone who has those green creds, and she wouldn't sign up for just anything. Like, and actually all the money, I believe, went to her institute rather than her own pocket. So
it's because she's got no pocket.
She's not got any pocket.
whichever way you cut it, though, it's just greenwashing.
Yeah.
Boring.
I like bamboo undies, though, or as pandas call them, edible undies. Good joke from the official comedian for the entire planet. Are billionaires pure evil, or are their hearts as big as their wallets? We asked our agencies to sort it out. Here's a pitch that billionaires are a force for good.
Darren Ralph here from Happy Days Content. Look, one of the biggest issues with billionaires is the perception that they don't pay enough tax. So we took to the streets to see just how widespread this view was.
No.
No one deserves to have that much money.
We should stop coddling the super rich.
I think the rich should pay a lot more than they currently do.
Well, I think estate tax is a good tax to address economic inequality.
Look, if you have more money, you should pay a higher percentage of tax.
People at the high end should be paying a lot more in taxes. Is that your opinion? No, that's Warren Buffett.
Mark Zuckerberg.
Actually, Elon Musk. Bill Gates said that. We should listen to him.
Wow, you've convinced me. Now a pitch that billionaires are a force of evil.
Hi, we're the Incubator. We wanted to convince Australians that billionaires are a force of evil without saying, well, duh, for 30 seconds.
So for our pitch, we decided to highlight the differences between billionaires and those of us who actually have souls.
Well, you've convinced me. Let's see what our panel think. Dee, which did you prefer?
I'm a big fan of using people's words against themselves, so I'm definitely going to go with number 1.
Christina?
Yeah, look, I actually prefer number 1 too. I thought that flip on, you know, that it was actually the billionaires saying it themselves was what really got me for that. And it's positive.
Priya?
I'm going for evil, I'm afraid. I think they tapped into that emotional insight that people do just hate the stuff these billionaires do, and it was quite evocative.
Todd?
2.
I think that means it's a tie, right? It's a tie. We haven't had a tie this season. Congratulations to Happy Days and the Incubator. We will fly half of this trophy to you in the ABC's private jet. This week, Bunnings was busted using face scanning technology. Now I'm scared these guys don't even know they're in ads. With Bunnings feeling the sizzle, their competitors have launched a new campaign to beat them by mitre 10%.
Well, we're renovating the cabins at the moment, and the staff at the other hardware store were very helpful.
Yes. They even recommended these coveralls, because the paint gets everywhere, doesn't it?
Everywhere.
I've got even worse news. While she was at the hardware store last week, I spotted him flirting at the servo. Turns out he is the village bicycle. The brand has gone from Mitre to Martyr 10. Dee, is this an act of defiance or surrender?
I think it's an act of stupidity. This is an ad that's all about engagement. You're going to watch it, but no persuasion at all. And it feels like it wants to be a challenger ad. It feels like, remember Avis, we're number 2, so we try harder? They're missing that second bit. And it's such a pity because it has a really good value brand proposition. These are mostly operated by families. They're the sort of stores that tradies go to, real tradies. And their parent company, Medicash, has IGA as one of their brands. And they've managed to carve a space for IGA competing against the sort of the behemoths of Woolworths and Coles. They know how to do it, and they've failed here so badly.
I think misattribution is a major problem for advertising. The research says up to 70% of ads either don't get noticed or get misattributed to something else. And I think, for me, the execution makes you smile, but not having branding in it. I could imagine the agency saying, yeah, we don't need it, just put it at the end. We know from the research, and most agencies hate it, that it's so formulaic, but you should introduce the branding, either say it or see it within 3 seconds of the ad to allow that to be in their mind while they're watching it, to register so there's no misattribution. I think it looks like the team got caught up in their own creativity, didn't bother with the branding, and they put it out there, and I don't think it'll do much.
What if there was like a little Mitre 10 logo where his nori roll is?
See, that's not a bad idea. Get that in early. Yeah.
One thing about this thing that they're trying to do is they are looking, in terms of the best of intentions, they're trying to deposition the behemoth that is Bunnings. You know, those blind masses, those sausage sizzle hordes that sort of go. Apparently, we spend something like $150,000 with Bunnings over the course of a lifetime. So it's and that's not including what we spend on the sausage sizzle, so it's probably double that. It's well worth trying to have some sort of a land grab for some of that. The thing is, they really, I think, for all the reasons we've talked about, they're not quite nailing it in terms of execution. I feel like the nudist ad is kind of cheap and lazy, and I don't think it's also the best showcase for their expertise. So, you know, when they say that, oh, the guy said, you know, we should have these coveralls because the paint goes everywhere, I mean, that's just common sense. You don't really need an expert to tell you that either.
And you feel like they should have at least made a tool joke if they're going to need it.
Mitre 10 spent Mitre 10 years pushing a Scotty Cam spokes tradie who even had his own bobbleheads. But now, like the other talking Scotty, that's not his job. Mitre 10 brands its new ads with subtle shades of blue, barely visible Mitre 10 bags, and don't even say their own name.
To the other hardware store.
The other hardware store.
The other hardware store.
Which one? Don't know. Priya, why call yourself the other hardware store?
Well, look, being a challenger brand is a tried and proven strategy. You've seen it all across the globe. If you think about how Virgin Atlantic launched in the UK, they went head-to-head with British Airways. If you look at the work that Burger King or Hungry Jack's here does against McDonald's, it's directly taking on the leader, the dominant leader, and trying to steal a bit of that conversation, trying to steal a bit of the mental availability and that kind of default purchase that would go to the leader in the category. I think to do it, though, you need to have exactly the right tonal humour. And I also think it helps to have a point of product difference that you can actually point to and go, this is a real reason why we are better. It feels a little bit like they're clutching at straws here, trying to kind of put down Bunnings' strength, which is staff, but without really having something tangible to go, this is why we're better.
I know Australians are very loath to attack, but maybe attack would have been a different strategy. You can't find a bloody person at Bunnings these days, so maybe come out more aggressive and do more comparative if you really want to stand out as a challenger within that category.
Or,
I think being nicey just makes you Bunnings in short pants.
Yeah, and they keep talking about being cheeky, but they're not. And I think I would have done something along the fact that people who go to Bunnings, and we all do it, you go in there and you actually have no idea what you're doing and what you're looking for, which is why you walk out with the big trolley, which is in Bunnings' favour. Literally, people who go to Bunnings don't know what they're doing. Real DIY people, real tradesmen go to Mitre 10. You set up Mitre 10 as kind of the owner of the real tradesman, and then the DIY people follow because they want to be seen as real tradespeople. Like, there's a really simple way in that they've just missed.
Thank you, the other Russell Howcroft.
The only thing I'd counter with that, though, Dee, is like they have been doing Scotty and the Big Blue Shed and tools for years and years and years, but Bunnings is still at the top. So I think this is an attempt to kind of fundamentally disrupt the status quo.
I don't know if nicely does it, though.
Yeah.
Bunnings wasn't the only brand taking our face data. There was also this lot. Might need to change that name. The good guys claim the technology is used to prevent theft and improve the customer experience. Doesn't improve my customer experience when I'm trying to steal stuff. Todd, why do brands want to take our faces?
Well, this is now, surveillance capitalism is now old hat online. So for the last 10 years, every time we ask Siri for something, every time we click, every time we open something, every time we pause on something, there's a wave of data behind it, of which they collect, they create a profile of who we are, and they sell that as a way to predict our behavior, but not only predict it, influence it. Now, offline, it is totally legal for them to collect our data without us knowing, as long as they put a sign up that says we are collecting the data. And that's where the controversy comes in, because for a generation of people, I mean, in my generation, everything was private until you made it public. In this generation, through the conditioning of Google and Facebook, everything is public until you make it private. And that privacy issue needs regulation, because they shouldn't be able to scan our faces, and they're not the only ones doing it. They shouldn't be able to scan our faces. They shouldn't be able to use our data willy-nilly, without our permission, without us signing or agreeing to anything.
That's exactly it. I mean, in an online environment, we're able to turn on cookies or turn them off. You've got different defaults. I think what's interesting here as well is the way they talk about it is, you know, address antisocial behaviour or theft. The thing about theft, the main categories that are affected by that are grocery stores, Woolies, Coles, Aldi, and department stores, Myers. In something like Bunnings, that sort of PR spin just the logic doesn't compute for me, because it's hard to be really inconspicuous if you're stealing a plank of wood or a hacksaw. It's not the kind of thing that you can put into your pocket.
I came in with the lawnmower, mate. Yeah. In 2013, Mitre 10% tried to compete with Bunnings in a different way by making their own jingle.
Mitre 10 is a strong foundation. Mitre 10 renovates the nation. Mighty helpful, mighty local. The tradies recommend Mitre 10.
And that is how Hillsong started. That's all we have time for tonight. Please thank our panel, Dee, Christina, Priya and Todd. Mitre 10% might have tried to make their own jingle, but we know there's only one person that can craft the perfect hardware tune. Take it away, Trevor. We'll see you next week.
The other hardware store.